Okay, we are good. I collaborated with a couple of people, some of the people on this call to actually Sarah Anderson, and I know Allie was kind of at the forefront of kicking this off where we have a monthly call for directors and above. And it was super fun because we went across a lot of different sidelines. So there's a lot of people who I've never connected with on these calls and vice versa. So I think it's going to be a really neat opportunity for us and our leaders to get just different ideas because we know sometimes when we step outside of our own circle or our own team and culture, we can learn a lot and try implementing new things and just feel different energy. So I think it's so healthy to have those relationships. And so I'm super pumped about this. Huge thanks to Sarah for just having the idea to kick it off. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys a little bit about data and running your business like a business. So for some of you, this might be just like second nature. You already do it, you love it, you know it, you understand its value and its importance. And for some of you, maybe you're like, well, maybe I should do a little more of this data or this tracking or focus on this side of the business a little bit more. And then I think from that, there are a lot of key things that we can take away and help our leaders understand as well. So as a leader, as a mentor, how can we help show people the value of data in our business and how to apply it? So first things first, I want to start just by giving you a quote that I think is so interesting about data. Two actually. So the first is just data are just summaries of thousands of stories. Tell a few of those stories to help make the data meaningful. I think oftentimes when we start talking about numbers, black and white, tangible information, people are like, oh, it feels so dry. Like it's just hard to digest. It's hard to understand. But what data really is it's our stories being told and it's the reflection of those stories and finding things that we can then apply so that we can plan and predict for future. So I think it's really important that I love that quote because when you look at business, and I think specifically within Zaya, a lot of times we've got people who are on both ends of the spectrum. So we've got people who are very emotional about the business and they're excited and their entire business is run on emotions and feelings. And that's not a bad thing. There's a ton of value in that, right? So there's that side. And then we've got the other side of the spectrum where people are really focused just on data. And that causes paralysis by analysis. They're only looking at numbers. They're not putting any of their own feelings or thoughts or emotions or personality into their business. So my goal is always to help my team understand what's the sweet spot there, right? So understanding the data and then telling stories to use it, I think really helps us kind of find where these two things match up perfectly and how to be balanced in there. And the second one is it is a capital mistake to theorize before one has data. So it's a capital mistake to theorize before one has data. And I think that also happens a lot in our business. So oftentimes when we hear things like, I don't know why my business isn't working. I don't know why I can't book a party. I don't think that I'm going to shoot for the 505 because I just don't think I have enough people purchasing right now. Or I'm not going to try to get the Wakiki points because I don't have prospects who could potentially be enrollees and join the business in the next 10 days or whatever. So I think one thing that we have to be very aware of is that you can make those theories and you can make those projections, but if you're not making them based on facts and figures, it can be a very dangerous place to live because you're just kind of living in the space of feeling, right? So if we can say, hey, I wasn't able to book any parties for the month of February, like I just don't feel like anyone else is going to book. Well, let's pivot and look at how many people did you reach out to? How many reach outs did you do in the last week so that you could book a party in February, right? And maybe the answer is 5. Okay, now we have data that reaching out to 5 people isn't enough. Let's try to reach out to 15 people to see if we can get one event booked for February. So the reason I love data, to sum this part up, the reason I love it is because it's going to take any excuses, any negatively charged emotion, it's going to take it out of your business because data and numbers don't lie. And what happens when you start using data and numbers, you become very responsible for your business. All of the responsibility turns to you. So Zaya isn't happening to you, you are happening to Zaya. And I think that that's really important for us to help teach our teams because the second that they feel equipped you know that they're going to have more success. So personal responsibility is the number one thing that you will hear people say about success in this business. I just did it. I just showed up. So when we're using that information and that tangible info, I think that really changes a lot of people's perception. So that's the first thing why I think it's important. And I think too, as leaders, before I'm just going to give you guys 10 things that I do on a daily or a monthly basis in my business. That's very, very helpful and has been very helpful. But first, what I would say to you is make sure you use discernment. So there's going to be things in here that you guys are like, oh, I do this. I need to teach people how to do it. There's definitely a time and a place for introducing numbers and data and that side of the business to people. If you've got a brand new rep, I certainly would not recommend that you start talking about data and tracking right away, right? Because they don't want to be like bookkeepers. It's going to be super overwhelming. So I think for maybe like directors and above, right? Start encouraging them to get a little bit more serious about their business and looking at this like you have a CEO hat on. It's not just a side gig. It's not just a, we'll see what happens. This could be really fun. I don't know what my commission check's going to be. It's going to be a fun surprise. Like when you kind of hit that director level, it's time to get really serious and wear your CEO hat. So here are 10 things that I do in my business that have been very helpful. So obviously, number one, I back into my goals each month. And this is something that you should do. I think people should do across the board. Every single member on our team, they should have or know an income goal and exactly how to get it. If somebody comes to you and says, listen, I don't really want to build an organization, but I want to make $800. I want to work really hard in sharing the brand and I want to make $800 a month. Great. We know that they have to sell $2,850 a month to do that. We know exactly how to back into that and then take it another step, help them understand what does that look like from your VIP page standpoint, from a party's standpoint. Is it reasonable? If it's not, let's start at 600 and see how we feel. Have a goal so we can track against it at the end of the month. So the first thing I do is always back into my goals each month. No questions asked. And I think that's something that we have to funnel down to the rest of our team. It's shocking how many people, even though I am very numbers focused, it's shocking how many people I will come across when someone reaches out who's maybe further in the downline and they're like, hey, can you help me? And I'm like, sure. Well, what's your goal for this business? What do you foresee it doing for you and your family each month? And they might say, they'll give me an income goal and they'll have no idea what it looks like in terms of sales or how to get there. And then when they do know that, again, it shifts that responsibility kind of back to them and we can work together to make a plan. So I'm always backing in. Number two, I'm tracking all of my numbers every single month. And I started doing this the first month that I started. So each month I am tracking in a spreadsheet, my PV, my number of enrollments, my team size, my volume, my group volume, my parties closed, both personal and team, and my commission check. So I've got a spreadsheet that each month I go back. So like February, I don't know, either the 1st or the 8th, depending on if you want to wait until your commissions, I go back in there and I fill in every single one of those numbers. And what that did for my business was, again, made me very responsible for it, but it's so interesting to see the trends. It is so interesting to see the trends because you can see that like you might have a month where your PV is higher, your enrollments are higher, and then 2 or 3 months later, your team size has a jump. Like you can start to see and predict trends. And as leaders, it is so important to be able to do that, to feel like you have control. Because if you don't feel like you have control and things like last year happen, and you're like, oh my gosh, the whole business is going to hell. Like my numbers are a quarter of what they used to be. What's going on? How am I going to, if you know those numbers, like we, for example, was it September? Was a kind of a low month, I think. September was lower. I actually had a double leave my team that month. And there was just a lot of talk about numbers are so low and we're not growing. And in November, I calculated my team growth, which I would advise you guys to do every single month. Look at your group volume, minus your group volume, divide it. And I can get you guys how I do all this stuff. But like I knew in November, we grew 34%. So what did I do? I went back to my team page and I said, guys, listen, in November, from September to November, we grew 34%. Like that is huge. People are buying again. People are interested in the business. People are having parties. We closed X amount more number of parties in November than we did in September. So rather than people just feeling like things aren't really happening, they're not tracking their numbers, they don't know what's really going on, they've got this gross feeling because September was slow. Well, guess what? You can feel that way, but we just talked about what happened from September to November. Like facts are facts. You can feel like the business is slow, or you can know that your team grew 34%. So I think it's really important. And that is one thing that I think has helped the consistency of my team so dramatically, is equipping them with that info. Feelings and emotions are important. Do not mishear me there. If there's no driver, if there's no why for this business, it's never going to work to begin with. So if there's people who don't have that, like I won't even begin to talk about data until they know that, because that's the driver. But I do think that stuff is really, really important. Number 3, I know what my commission checks are going to be. And this is just me being a little bit type A personality when it comes to numbers. I'm very much a type B, right? Is that what it's called? Personality, as like Kelly knows. I mean, I'm just totally go with the flow, like whatever. Not very like OCD in any shape or form at all. Like you guys should see my sock drawer, which is under my computer right now. It's horrific. But when it comes to this stuff, super, super on top of it, because I think it's so important. So I know what my commission checks are going to be. In the very beginning, I was like, this is a fun surprise. I wonder what it's going to be. I don't want to know that anymore. Like, I don't want to be surprised. I don't want to wonder. I go in and I have a spreadsheet that I can share with you guys if you want it, just message me. But it literally has my PV at either 28 or 33%. Well, usually I hit over 1,000. So it's 28 or 33. So 33% is what I have in there. And then I've got my level 1 volume, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down. And we actually only go 9 levels down, but I've got it all the way to level 10. Then I can put in my level volume. It automatically takes 75% of that. And then I know by my own personal sales, by my own levels, what my check is going to be every month. Here's the reason I do that. And then what I have on the side of that Excel spreadsheet is I've got the percentages based on junior rep, director, senior director, all the way up. So if I've got somebody who has a very large, which we probably all have, right, group volume, and maybe they're not at 500 yet or 600, you can easily pop in their volume by level, and you can just copy and paste those percentages of director to senior director or senior director to executive and say, hey, just want to let you know you're $380 shy on your own PV this month. If you would choose to hit the 500 or 600, whatever their number is, you would essentially get, $180 in free Zaya, plus your commission check would be $420 higher. So it's super easy to be able to take that back to your teams and help them understand what money is literally being left on the table. And that's another thing we talk about. That money is either on corporate's table, just fine, they're running a business, right? Like there's no like negativity in me saying that, but it's either sitting on Zaya's table or it's in their pockets. Okay. And I think that is something that we have to help them understand as well. It's literally sitting there for you. So helping people understand, but I always know what my commission check is going to be. It just gives me a lot of insight, even into my own business. I've been sitting at Double Zaya for a really long time. So every once in a while, I'll pop in the elite numbers, right? Is that next? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, like I need to work on that. Like I need to work on that. It sucks. Like I don't love seeing it, but it's very motivating too. So I always know my check's going to be. It's also really fun. I think just for perspective, when some of us feel like we're not making as much maybe as we were in April of 2020, which let's just be real, was insanity to begin with. But sometimes on like the 10th of the month, I'll pop in my numbers and I'll just jot down what it is. And then I'll do it on like the 28th of the month. And I'm like, wow, like this is incredible. This is real money. This is real life. Like it's at any level. It's just really cool to see that. Number 4, I budget my spending, which is not super fun. You can mute me if you don't want to hear this part. But I do budget my spending very much. I've never been a big buyer of inventory. I think if it fits your business, if it is applicable to your business and how you run with your customers, your team, do it. I'm not indicating you shouldn't. For me, I've just never bought a ton of inventory. I buy stuff that are staples. I talk about different colors. But what I do is at the end of the month, I will take whatever percentage off of my commission check that I need to for taxes. And then I'll take anywhere from 5 to 8, usually 8 to 10% of what my check is. And I put it on a Team Elevate, that's our team, a Team Elevate debit card. So I know I'm able to track very clearly what I'm spending. What also is helpful here, especially if you can like get a different debit card or somehow disconnect from the money, you emotionally disconnect as well. So if you're like, hey, I've got this teammate who's really trying, I want to send her a $25 gift. It's not like I'm spending $25. It's I have this business expense from an account that is my business money. It just allows you to emotionally disconnect. Same with buying inventory. If there's something that you want to buy a new release Wednesday, hey, if your business expenses have the funds in it, go for it. Because now I'm not just buying myself clothes, right? I'm investing in my business because I need this inventory to talk about a new product. So for me, having that, being able to transfer that money onto a business card was super helpful mentally because I didn't feel like I was spending the money I was making. This money was allocated to be set aside for my business, like any other business has expenses, right? Any other business you know about has way more expenses than we do. So that's something I try to help my team do too. And it's a little scary because when you're telling the masses, like, you don't need to buy a ton, like, right? Like, we all want to be like, buy it all because that's good for business. But I think it builds a lot of trust when we can say, is this fiscally responsible? Does this make sense for your business? Have those conversations with them because, again, it's putting more control in their hands, and that's super powerful. Number 5, I have an org chart. Um, every once in a while, what I do is I have a whiteboard and I will write down like reps, junior reps, senior reps, and then I list all of my brand partners in whatever category that they are. So I can visually see what's happening, especially when people, like if somebody leaves, like when my double Zaya left and that all rolled up, I was like, Lord, I don't even know which way to turn right now. So I make this org chart on a whiteboard and I list everybody's name and I'm like, okay, I'm super heavy in my junior rep pocket. Obviously, rep status is always like 10 pages long, but I'm super heavy in my junior rep. I've got 2 people or however many of my senior reps. So you can look at this and visually understand where people are. And what it's going to allow you to do is a couple things. One, you're going to have much better relationships because you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't reached out to Tara in so long. Like, I need to know where she's at, how she's feeling, need to understand her business. And you might have really good conversations with people who are like, listen, I don't think this is for me anymore. Great. See ya. I give my level 1 reps my discount. If they were a great rep and they're leaving on a good note, and I know that they're going to continue sharing this brand, they can use my discount. Again, know your business. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm gonna like kick myself in the butt for doing this, but sometimes it's really, really great. Or free shipping or something. But sometimes it allows people, you're giving them permission to leave the business that's just causing them stress anyways, right? Or you might have a conversation with someone who's like, I've been really quiet in my business, but I'm excited and I want to level up. Great. Now you know where to put more attention. 80-20. 80% of our time when we have teams that are bigger has to go into the 20% that really want to be here. But if you don't know the true 20%, you're just going to be spinning your wheels. So I love being able to do that. I circle the people who I know want to get moving, who are excited to be going somewhere, and the people who aren't, that's okay. Like, you can color code it, but visually seeing it is so helpful rather than just running your downline report because that's pretty overwhelming. Number 6, this is something I encourage my team to do a lot, to know your top customers. And this is super simple. We can go in our back office, you can run by spending who the top customers are, and then treat them right. I mean, I'm sure you guys all do it, but I think that's something that's really helped my team kind of, again, understand their business, take ownership so that when maybe their top, the third person out of their top 5 or 10 list comments or purchases something, or it's their birthday, that rep might be like, oh yeah, like, hey, happy birthday, free shipping on me. But it just gives them more ownership. I mean, imagine trying to run a business not knowing what's going on behind the scenes. And I think a lot of people feel that way. And as soon as they have enough courage just to dig into this data side a little bit, they feel so much more comfortable and powerful in their business. Number 7, plan ahead of my VIP group. That one's not necessarily as important. But I do think that having a plan for VIP groups, and it doesn't necessarily need to be every month, helps. So if you know you're going to run a promotion in your VIP group, plan for it. Set aside dollars for it. Sometimes I'll have people say, well, I can't afford to do a bomber bra giveaway in my VIP group. So my challenge to them is usually, well, hey, so the month is almost over. Do you have any more parties? Are you pushing? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, sell $100, sell 2 pairs of leggings. You're going to make 28, 33, whatever. You can use that money. Now you have these funds that you can allocate towards a bomber bra giveaway. Now that's a really small scale, but you could also scale it to larger businesses too. So I'm always planning ahead in my VIP groups, so I know what I'm going to be allocating in those groups. I only have 9. See, that's like weird. Why wouldn't I just go to 10? Number 10, you have to know Zaya as a business, as a corporate, large scale company brand business. And this is something that I feel like at least my team, I feel like we were missing the mark on a little bit, right? Because we love the leggings. We love how they fit. It's so much fun. Those things are all so important and they should absolutely be at the forefront. However, does the average rep know where our head is? Does the average rep know that 80% of all Zaya sales come from customers, not reps? Does the average Zaya rep know that 76% of people in Zaya stay versus 55%, which is the industry average? It's really powerful information. Does the average rep know that we're more affordable, but our quality is premium and equal to and higher than most brands that they know because of how we're set up, because we go from designer to manufacturer to warehouse to consumer's doorstep. We don't have brick and mortar stores. We don't have storefront signage. We don't have night employees. We don't have trucks from warehouse to warehouse, like to store. We have so much overhead that is not there. So we're able to bring this premium product to the marketplace at a more affordable price. Okay. I think that's really important. And oftentimes, like, so the Discover or the Zaya Advantage group that we did, one of the reasons that we put that together was because we just want people to feel more equipped with that data. So when somebody asks about, hey, how's Zaya going? We know a lot of people are like, oh, it's good. It's just like this little thing I do. Like, let's equip that with better, real tangible information that can pack a punch, that can be powerful. So when somebody at Thanksgiving is like, hey, how's Zaya? You sell that, right? Yeah, no, it's okay. It's just this little side thing. How about, you know what? It's actually way more than I thought it was going to be in the best way. And I just heard like social selling is supposed to, in the next 12 to 24 months, there's going to be a huge surge. And that one's a little extreme for Thanksgiving dinner, but you get the point. Like you can start to use these, right? Like you can start to use this data, or if somebody prospects specifically, right? I mean, there's a ton of information that we can share with prospects in here. And again, part of the reason that we did the Zaya Advantage, we, especially being here in the Midwest, and I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, but we're always like, oh, it's so good. Yeah, thanks. Like we love it. It's fun. We're never like overly loud about why it is literally the best place to be right now. Can we talk about like no subscriptions? There's no subscription-based products. In this climate, people are cutting auto withdrawals left and right. Like we're not in charge of your money. That's yours. You pick when you want to buy something. We're not going to make you. Reps do not have to buy any product, like $0 worth. That's crazy. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to do anything. $15 website fee. This is another one we've been talking about with prospects a lot, is when this kit comes out, and it's got the bonus set in it, and people are really excited and they're like, well, I love the kit. I mean, I kind of want to try it, but I'm a little apprehensive. It doesn't have to be this big, massive, life-changing thing when they sign up. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Sign up. I'm going to help you do exactly what you want in this business. Like, we'll do it together. And guess what? If you don't love it, it's okay. That's fine. You can just email customer service, right? But make it more human for people too. And I think having this data sometimes, like knowing, what is it, like 80, I think it's 82% of our customers repeat purchase. Like if I'm a prospect, that's really powerful information to me. And knowing that 80% of sales come from customers, not reps, we're not funded by our reps, right? Like product sales is what we're earning commissions on. That's why we're a stable company. And the fact that we can't move people around in our back office, yeah, for sure. Would we all love to be able to go in there and do that and do a little bit of Jenga? Yeah, 100%. There'd be tens of thousands of more dollars probably just on this call alone. But the reality is that we can't do that because we're not paying somebody to go rearrange their back office to make the most amount of money in really kind of a non-ethical way. So I think that there's so much that we can do with data. And if you lead with emotion and you lead with heart and lead with the why, and then you back it up with some really powerful shit in numbers, that's where it becomes super strong. So that's pretty much what I have for you guys. I feel like I could talk about this stuff all day and get really, really deep into like percentages and growth percentages and all this fun stuff. But I don't want to make you terribly bored. So, and I know we're all super excited to see what kind of fires there's going on right now. But do you guys have any questions?
I did. What was the, you were talking about like how you put all of your downline on like a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So what was that? Work? Did you say work.org? I missed it.
No, I actually super old school. I call it an org chart, like my own org chart, and I do it on a whiteboard.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So like once a month, I'll take what I call a CEO day, and it's really more like 4 hours, but I'll take 4 hours once a month and I work on my business and not in it. Like I can't do any follow-ups, I can't do any return stuff, like I can't, nothing that's like in my business. So when I do that, that's typically when I'm tracking these numbers, when I'm looking at that org chart, kind of understanding where people are at. And I'll ask my team for feedback too, like where do you feel like we need more, if our group volume is down, if our parties closed is down, let's do a booking blitz. And I'll give away $100, whatever. I'll give away some cool stuff in the team page. But no, it's just an org chart. It's madness in the background. The link I think we'll probably just post in team pages for the recording. A document with all the stats in one place. Yeah, so that's in the Zaya Advantage, which if you don't know what that is, if you just search Zaya Advantage in the marketing page, you can join. And so that is something that you can bring back to all of your teams too. It's really a program to be able to take graphics and information and dump it into people's VIP page. So it's over a 5-day period. And it's kind of like a Discover Zaya in their own community groups. And the reason we kind of did that was because we would always run these Discover Zayas and we're like, oh, Discover Zaya in 2 weeks. And everybody's scrambling to try to find prospects and then they get overwhelmed and they don't. And so it's super small groups. So this way we're like, well, they already have a very captive audience in their community pages. So how can we in a very classy way, take this information and dump it into those groups. So if you like it, try it, check it out. But there is a post that has all of those figures and more, which I know are compliant because I worked with Zach on it a little bit. So I did get the blessing because I was like, oh my gosh, the last thing I need to do is like shut down 100 people's businesses. Yep. I feel like there was something else I was going to say, but I don't remember. It was good. Anything else? Okay, cool. I'm gonna stop recording for a second. Just give me one sec here.